Chapter 23. The Whole Path. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 22 to 23. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mounts out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And he said, Behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived? Go thou near, and hear all the things the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me, and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them, and with their children forever. Go say to them, Get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand, or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 22 to 23. Moses here recalls the delivery of God's 10 commandments and the rest of his law at Mount Sinai. Moreover, God there appointed Moses as the mediator, verses 28 to 31. Let Israel therefore obey and prosper, verses 32 and 33. Moses is recounting incidents of about 38 years earlier. The older generation to whom he then spoke had all died except for himself, Caleb and Joshua. All the same, Moses speaks as though they were the ones to whom God then spoke. An important biblical presupposition is involved here. A people's past is also, to a degree, their present. In particular, because of God's covenant, a people's past is also always their living present. It is important to understand the significance of this covenantal reality in order to appreciate history. To illustrate, the United States, from the days of the first settlements in New England and Virginia, will, within a generation, be 400 years old. Before God, its history involves its total life, from its early covenantal settlement to its present apostate ways. The present generation was not born into an empty world, nor do the immigrants coming in enter into nothing more than the present material culture. The present is a product of the past to a large degree. The nations are all like men to whom varying numbers of talents are given, and the Lord will hold them accountable for their past and present. Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30. Every accounting by God is a total one. It begins with our past and includes its totality into all the present. Apart from the atonement and our sanctification, we stand as impossibly heavy debtors to God. For this reason, Moses spoke to the generation before him as fully a part of the generation past. The anarchistic individualism of our time makes us mindless of the importance of our past and of our histories as people. The mandate is still the same. Israel must hear and obey to prosper. Their days cannot be prolonged apart from faith and obedience. Israel at Sinai feared God because of a bad conscience, and with good reason. They therefore asked that Moses be their mediator. To be face to face with God and his law, his justice was too much for them. Verses 24 to 31. The law of God is an indictment of man and his sin. Plato's Republic has no laws, nor does Aristotle's Politics, because neither had a doctrine of the fall and of man's sin. For them, the problem was to ensure social health by the harmonious development of man and also the state. True balance with reason in control would ensure the flowering of natural goodness. The philosophical elite would provide the guidance. Since the Enlightenment, modern man has had a like belief. It has seen the fault not in man, but in the bad arrangement of things, the lack of the sufficient application of reason and science to society, and the prevalence of Christianity. At the beginning of the century, Andrew Harper wrote, "But in our modern day, men like Goethe and Schopenhauer, and even Carlyle, have demanded that mankind should yield service to them, and then, by the furtherance and developments they thereby attain, they promise to work out the deliverance of men from superstition and unreality and the bondage of ignorance." Goethe, in this matter, is typical. He preached and practiced the most uncompromising humanity in no way so well as by making everyone he met, and all the experiences he encountered, ministered to his own intellectual growth. Instead of saying with Moses, "Blot me out of thy book," but spare these dim, idolatrous masses, he would have said, "Let them all perish, and let me become the origin of a wise, more intellectual, more self-restrained race than they." He consequently pursued his own ends relentlessly from his early years, and attained results so immense that almost every domain of thought, speculation, and science is now under some debt to him. But for all his purposes of inspiring moral and spiritual enthusiasm, he is practically useless. His selfishness, however high its kind, accomplished its work and left him cold, unapproachable, isolated. In every age, salvation has been by God's grace alone. This was emphatically true in Moses' day, as it is in our own. Israel's salvation was to be, as ours must be, the obedience of faith, verses 30 to 33. In verse 32, the words, "Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you," can be rendered as, "Ye shall be careful to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you." Richard Clifford has called attention to a detail in the very literal reading of the latter half of verse 32. "You shall turn neither right nor left on the whole path which the Lord your God has commanded that you walk." According to Calvin, the greatest benefit and the highest honour God gives to a people is to enter into covenant with him and to give them his law. The marginal notes to this text in the Geneva Bible read as follows: "He requireth of us nothing but obedience, showing also that of ourselves we are unwilling thereunto, as by obedience God giveth us all felicity, so of disobeying God proceed all our miseries." The early church strongly emphasized the two-way preaching of, on the one hand, sin, death, self-will, lawlessness and unbelief, and on the other, life, righteousness or justice, obedience, faith, and godly service. Obedience is due to God because our salvation is an act of sovereign and free grace. As Thomas Scott said so well, the Word of God is spoken to us that we may learn, retain, and practice it, for in this all religion is ultimately centred, and without it the whole is but a dead carcass, not only worthless, but abominable. This is a blunt statement for our time. Modern man now defines things in terms of himself or his experience, whereas God defines everything in terms of his word and will. Verses 22 to 27 tell us of an interesting aspect of the giving of the Ten Commandments. When given at Sinai, all Israel heard the terrifying voice of God in giving the Decalogue. They then, in terror, asked that Moses mediate the rest of the law to them. Thus, only these 10 Commandments were heard by all. It was shortly after that, as they grew impatient with Moses' return, that they turned to the golden bull calf worship and fertility cult practices. The law, as a whole, is a unity, not a collection of miscellaneous precepts. It sets forth the nature and the justice of God. It requires understanding as a unit, and then we can understand why love is the fulfilling or putting into force of the law. Romans chapter 13, verses 8 to 10. The law is God's plan for the conduct of life on earth, and it is a design for dominion and victory. It requires God-centered living, and it centers the life of man and society and God. The law insists that man face up to the consequences of his actions. This knowledge is the beginning of true history. Apart from it, history is simply a chronicle, a register of events, not an account of a developing meaning. The decline of faith leads in time to a decline in historiography